It's the end of the day with Ray. Hello, my friends. Well, folks, if you look on that gigantic, sharp, interactive board, you see another new face. Today I have Gary Harouff on, and Gary Harouff is the president of the CDA. He also owns one of our dealerships here in the United States. It's called AIS, and I want to talk to Gary because there's a big CDA meeting coming up in October. But before we get into a conversation with Gary, I got to do something really quick here. I want to do a toast to my buddy Chris Pollock in his fancy mug that he gave me for the 50th anniversary. His company's having a 50th anniversary. And by the way, Chris will be at the CDA meeting, right? He's the sponsor, right?
That's correct. He will be there.
To you, Chris. It does keep the coffee hot. I've never done that before, but it's my show. I can do whatever I want. Gary, how are you doing? And welcome to the end of the day with Ray.
I'm doing fantastic, Ray. Thank you for having me on.
Well, you know, Gary, a couple of things. You know, I had Adam Gregory, and Adam Gregory's the president of the BTA. And the BTA is another organization in our industry where dealers come together and collaborate and do their thing. So I want to start out with that question because we know the BTA is like almost 100 years old. I mean, some of the people that were there when it started are still there. That was a joke. But you know, it's an old fraternity in our industry. Tell us a little bit about the CDA and the difference, in your opinion, between the CDA and the BTA, and should a dealer be in both organizations?
Yeah, I think there's certainly a value in both. You know, the BTA is more of, it's the dealer community,
okay,
where the CDA is it's a peer group. It's just like-minded businesses that we come together on a consistent basis, and we share best practices and our financials. And so I think you can learn a lot more from a dealer than, not saying you can't learn anything from BTA, but I think there's a lot more golden nuggets that you get when you're in a dealer peer group.
Well, so if you're sharing financials with each other and best practices around financials with each other, I would imagine that you don't have competitors in the group, like two dealers from the same town, if you will. That's
a good question. When CDA originally started out, we did not have any overlap. There was no overlap, so you were pretty well protected. But in the world we live in today, that's just not really practical. And as over time, our dealer members bought up other dealers, and it just ended up that there's overlap. So today we do have overlap, but you know what? We welcome it because we realize that all boats rise. And so you have to be vetted to come in, but there could be overlap, and in most circumstances there is overlap.
Well, you know, and no two businesses are alike. I mean, I know some of our industry is really diving into, you know, other major services around IT and et cetera. I think you guys are even doing IT yourself at AIS. So the benefits from learning from each other would be good. It would still be hard, maybe just because I'm an old guy, but it would still be a little bit hard to be in a room getting into some details with a competitor. So that's kind of interesting how that works out. But I would imagine in today's world, like you said, so much things are changing. We're moving stuff online. We got dealers, more and more dealers going online and selling stuff online, and that's going to penetrate territories as well. But tell us a little bit about this meeting. It's coming up. It's October, toward the end of October, and what's going to happen at this meeting?
Yeah, so it's my final meeting as CDA president, so it's kind of my big bang as I go out, and we're going to have it here in my hometown of Vegas.
Okay.
So on this particular meeting with CDA, we have multiple groups. We have a sales and marketing section. We have one for CFOs. We have one for service, and we have one for owners, and we have one specifically for IT. This October meeting will be a sales and marketing meeting on Wednesday, and then an owners meeting on Thursday and Friday.
Okay.
And then on that Wednesday night, we kind of have an overlap between the sales and marketing people and the owners, and we have one big event, a grand dinner cocktail reception on that Wednesday night, which happens to be at Oscar's. Oscar was a famous mob attorney here in Las Vegas. If you ever seen the movie Casino, he actually played himself in that movie. And he now owns a steakhouse here in Vegas. He ended up becoming the mayor after he was the crime boss attorney. And so we're going to do a takeover of his restaurant, and he's going to come in and he's going to tell his old mob stories, which are just absolutely fantastic. Yeah. I was lucky enough to meet him back in the early 90s. I was the one who sold him his first fax machine when he was a mob attorney. So we go way back, and I'm looking forward to it.
Did he give you any clients? Hey, you need to go see Double Cheeks, or the nicknames they gave each other in the mob.
Yeah,
and then if you go to a mobster to sell him a fax machine, that damn thing better work. That's what
that's the good news is we didn't cross over to any of his clients, I guess.
Crazy stuff. Well, his last name's Goodman, right? Oscar Goodman. That's who you're talking about?
Oscar Goodman. And currently his wife is the mayor. So he was the mayor for 10 years. Mm-hmm. His tenure ran up. Now his wife's the mayor, and her tenure runs up this year as well. So certainly they are iconic people in the Vegas community.
That sounds like a lot of fun. So the first part of the meeting is sales and service. And then they leave after that Wednesday thing, and then the owners are Thursday and Friday. Okay.
Yeah, right. And so on that Thursday meeting, when CDA is in a location that has a dealership, so I happen to be headquartered here, on that Thursday morning, we'll bring all the members over and we'll do a dealer visit at my location. And I'm telling you, Ray, you can learn a whole lot about an organization and get some great ideas by visiting other dealers. I think it's just fantastic that we do that and share that piece. So that Thursday morning, we'll be over here at AIS, and we'll put on a little dog and pony show for them. And then we'll head back. And then Thursday afternoon, we'll start with our first speaker, which happens to be Frank Cucco. And I know you know a little bit about Frank, right, Ray?
My buddy Frank. I just interviewed him at his new studio. I'll post that probably next week sometime. But, yeah, what a remarkable business that he's built there. You know, just amazing stuff. And the talent of people that he has in there is pretty amazing. Yeah. So I'm looking forward to his presentation.
Yeah, what Frank is going to share is his journey from start to finish, which is, if you know Frank, it's a remarkable journey in what he's accomplished.
Nope.
And I can tell you that Frank has been a great member of CDA. He will share absolutely anything. He is really one of those guys that will help to give you the shirt off your back. So Frank's been wonderful to the CDA organization. So we're tickled to have him there.
No, he's built a remarkable business, and every time I go there, when I was there last week, he had a town hall. They do a live town hall, and he sits there while questions come in, and you're 100% correct. He's completely wide open. He shares his he doesn't pull any punches, obviously, if you know Frank. So, but it's probably why we get along a little bit. But I'm looking forward to his presentation. And who else you got? I'm going to be one of those speakers, and I'm super excited about that, Gary, by the way. I'm honored by that.
Well, after Frank, we have Andrew Locke, who's written a lot of books about Disney and Walt Disney himself. And he is going to give us some practical experience on what we could do to be more Disney-like, on giving a better customer journey and actually generating more profit. So his presentation is explicitly detailed towards our industry, which to me is really cool. So we don't have to think about what could we do with his concepts. He's going to tell us what we can do with his concepts. So that's fantastic. And then, as far as I know, for the first time ever, we're going to have the end of the day with Ray on Thursday. Is that correct, Ray?
That's correct. I'm super excited about it, and thanks for the invitation. Thanks for the, my platform has its friends, and I say frenemies, but it's hard to be a little bit critical in the marketplace without driving that, and I do appreciate those opportunities to get out and speak and talk to dealers. I think as dealers get to understand what I'm all about, it kind of changes things a little bit in their mindset. But we all have we're an industry in disruption, and I always say, how in the hell can you go through disruption if you're afraid to invite disruption to the party?
Mike, when I became president 2 years ago, Ray, that was one of the statements I made day one in October of 2 years ago, that I am going to bring in people that sometimes you're not going to agree with, because I think our industry has gotten a little stale. We like to hear ourselves talk. We like to do the same things, and we don't realize that's not going to work. And I said, and I had a snow globe. I'm like, I'm going to take us, we're the snow globe, and I'm going to shake it up, because that's what we need. And so there's been many times I brought in speakers that people told me I don't know why you brought them in. They don't understand us. They don't even get us. But you know what? 6 months later, 9 months later, what are they telling me? Well, you know what? He did have this one idea. Oh, you know what? I did do this. It's slowly changing people's minds. But I'm telling you, this group of our industry is pretty stubborn.
Oh, yeah. Well, and, to say the least.
So I'm just trying to expose them to new ideas. And you know what? What I'm seeing is, yes, people are stubborn, and they're willing to say no right away, or that won't work, or we always think we're special in our industry. But the good news is, over time, because these dealers are some of the most elite in the country, they'll think about it, and a little seed gets planted in that crack, and it starts to grow. So that's what makes me excited, is that I can see change coming, at least inside our peer group, on what we're willing to think about what the future looks like.
Tell me a little bit, because what you had mentioned, the CDA has a managed IT group within the CDA. So tell me a little bit about that. So they have their own separate meetings, and when they get together, it's 100% those dealers that are delivering IT services, and that's what you're discussing?
That's correct, right. So that's what makes our peer group, as far as I know, different from all the other peer groups in our industry. We're the only one that has a specific segment just for our IT providers. And so it's the same thing. We get together, that group gets together 3 times a year. It's tagged on to the owners meeting in March and July, and then they're tagged on to IT Nation in November and the fall. And it's exclusively to our members. And it's been, I think it's something that we added on maybe 4 years ago. Ray, I can't exactly sure, but it's been fantastic for the members in our group that want to get into IT.
No, well, you know, it's a journey for sure. It's an expensive journey, and the IT space has changed so drastically. I was just talking with a friend of mine that owns an IT company, and you know, the gross profits are slipping away. We're seeing more and more stuff going into the cloud. You know, every dollar that goes into the cloud, we're losing a lot of dollars out of infrastructure that we used to get a lot of money for. So there is a lot of changes in that space. So that's fantastic. And but I just want to make that clear, because that is unique in our space, the print space, to have the peer group with a dedicated IT services group. And I imagine that who do you use in that group to help you with benchmarking? Are you using anybody outside there, like in the IT space?
It's a company that's called Barry McKinley. They're exclusively in the MSP space.
Okay.
And they're helping us do the benchmarks in conjunction with Todd Johnson. They're working together to create somewhat of a blended model.
Okay.
To help out with that piece.
Yeah, because obviously, you know, I always say that one of the problems I have with IT in general is a lot of the consultants in the space, their customers are all lifestyle businesses. I mean, there's not a lot of $20, $30 million IT companies. So when a $20 or $30 million print company decides they want to get into services, their revenue standpoint and their business model is so much different than the model that most of these IT companies are in. They have different issues, different struggles, and it's. I would really love to. I'm going to have to see if I can attend one of those one time. I'd love to get some more insight on that, because the bringing together of the two and creating that intrigues me a little bit, especially now that we're into this so deep into IT. It's get almost to a point where it's changing again from its maturity level.
The amazing piece from what they shared is that only 2% of IT companies ever exceed $2.5 million. So that's just crazy to me, right? It's just, there's a lot of small players out there.
Yeah, it's like over 50% or less than 4. I mean, you can get up to 80% that are less than like 6. So it's there's a benchmarking company called Service Leadership, part of ConnectWise, that shares a lot of that data too. Well, we kind of got off track there a little bit, but it's all part of the CDA, so it'll be exciting. And I'm looking forward to coming and seeing your dealership, you know, and meeting your team and all that good stuff, and meeting all the folks that are in the CDA. I'll do my best to do a great presentation for them. You know, our industry is definitely going through its biggest disruption in its history, and this time the disruption is going to completely destroy what we all love. And we're going to have to create something new to love. It's not about saving the past in any way, shape, or form. And so I think,
that's why the peer groups are great, Ray, because we can all kind of experiment on our own and come back and share what's working, what's not, and make tweaks. And that's exactly what occurs inside these groups. Absolutely.
That's fantastic stuff. Is there anything you want to add before we end this?
Well, we have a whole Friday agenda too. Do you want me to go through that, or do we have enough?
No, I thought we were done after I spoke.
Well, we might be, Ray.
I thought that's when everybody ran out of the room. Okay, what are we doing on Friday, man?
Yeah. Well, we ended the day with Ray on Thursday, but then we go into Thursday night. We're going to have a group event at the Sphere. You've probably seen that in the,
that's awesome.
How have you not seen that? So we're going to do a private event at the Sphere on Thursday night. Then we come back on Friday morning, which I'm a little worried about because we're here in Vegas. What does my Friday morning look like?
Oh, yeah.
But we're going to start the day out with a fitness guru. I think you may have heard of him. His name's Tony Horton.
Okay.
If you ever watched late night TV and you may have seen him do a P90X workouts, that's this guy. And he is going to talk to us about how health and business really connects, and you have to be disciplined in both.
Mm-hmm.
You can't be only disciplined in one or the other. And so I think that will be a fantastic speaker. We've never had anyone talk to us about fitness that I'm aware of. So it's another challenging moment for our members. Then next up, we have an authority on AI, Sam Richer. And this guy, I've heard him speak before. It's the real deal. And AI is changing our industry, and you need to embrace it. And this guy is going to give us some practical steps on what we can do to actually embrace AI. And then we end with a speaker that was the chief experience officer over at Zappos and over at Amazon to teach us how to deliver better customer experiences. So it's a well-rounded meeting. I'm happy that it's my final. I'm proud that it's my final. And I'm happy, Ray, that you're going to be there. And I can't say enough how CDA has been the most instrumental, successful thing that I have ever done for my business. Sharing stuff at a peer group, not only the speakers, but the conversations you have over dinner and cocktails, has been invaluable. It's changed us completely. And if you're not part of a peer group, I highly, highly recommend that you join one. It will be a difference maker for you.
Yeah, you got to do that. I mean, and during COVID, when everybody was kind of locked up, and we lost that, and we realized as soon as we could get back out how important that is. But you're spot on. There's nothing better than having those candid conversations that are unscripted with people that you're not on a Zoom call and time's gonna run up and you can actually talk through things. But I gotta end with this because I don't know if you need a peer group, because the rumor is that AIS stands for an instant success. That you started this company, 25 years ago, and just boom, you were right out of the box, instantly successful. That's not true. Is that what you're telling me?
No, it was a little bit. It was only 22 years, Ray. It was only 22.
I'm optimistic for you. See, people say I'm not optimistic. You got at least 3 more years in my book, buddy.
That's right.
Gary, I look forward to seeing you in Vegas, because everybody watching us right now knows this: status quo is the killer of all that'll be invented. Don't get stuck in status quo, and I'll see you all tomorrow.